What's your goal this year?
I want to do 2 million.
2 million.
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm definitely gonna do it at least. And then the other thing, the big goal for me this year is I've had my 2 years at good income.
Yeah.
So with 1099, I could actually go get a house now. So I'm looking currently at houses in between 1.2 and 1.5 million, and I'm 22 years old. It's gonna be my first house.
All right, welcome to True Talk. Got my man John Egan with us today. What's up, John?
Not much, bro. How you doing?
Awesome, dude. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, dude. Well, you're kicking ass, so that's why we're having you. You've been with us for how long now?
About 2.5 years.
About 2.5 years. You had about, a year and a half in life insurance experience prior to this.
Yes, sir.
You're from Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Grew up in Chicago. What's that like?
It's nice. I like it.
Yeah?
I like the hustle and bustle of a city.
Okay.
I got to spend time in the country, got to spend time in the city.
Yeah.
I really do like the chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My wife's from New York. We spent a lot of time there, so I know exactly what you mean.
There you go.
What were you doing for work when you found life insurance?
So I currently, at that time, I had a job at Wendy's. I was a cook.
Okay.
And then I was also part-time packing trucks at Target at night. So I just fulfilled the truck orders.
Okay. And how old were you then?
18.
18. All right. So 18 years old, working. You didn't go to college?
No.
No.
I was still in high school.
Oh, you're still in high school then?
Yeah.
So you're still in high school, working a couple jobs, making some money. And then you were telling me a little bit before we got on, but Jay Masco went into one of your jobs on New Year's Eve?
Yes, sir, at Target.
At Target. What were you doing? You were stocking shelves?
No, so I was walking out. I was heading out.
You ready to leave?
Yeah, and he asked if he can get ping pong balls. I'm like, dude, it's New Year's Eve.
On New Year's Eve. What time was that, night?
Yeah, it was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, dude, you're not getting no ping pong balls.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, well, me and the guys, we just came from Nebraska. We got this life-changing opportunity.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out his calculator. He's like, 10,000 divided by 2, that's the check. I'm like, let's do it.
And you're like 18. You're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Did you know what he was doing?
No, I really had no clue. He sent me after that I got his number.
Okay.
It didn't save, so I ran out to the car where he was getting in. They were getting in a Silverado.
Yeah.
And at the time I had a $500 car. I'm like,
okay.
Dude, these dudes are rich.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I'm like, they're so rich. And then ended up getting his number again, and then he called me that night, and he sends me a bunch of links to all sorts of stuff. That made no sense. Nothing about insurance. It was his first week. He had no clue.
Oh, he had just started too.
Yeah, he just got down there that week. So he sent me a bunch of random links, and I was like, all right, let's do it. Came in the office, did an interview with a different person, and then got my test.
Got it. And you have no sales experience, right? Was this what was this extent of your working career at this point? Wendy's, Target?
Yeah.
Never sold anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've sold things in the past, but
got it. Like what?
Just not actually business things. You know what I mean? When I was 12 years old, I started selling weed, and then from there I continued selling things like that until I was about 16 years old.
Got it. So I should have said never sold anything that was legal at the time.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
What was it like getting into life insurance? I mean, you were 18, 19 when you got your license?
Yeah, I was 18. I was still in high school, and it was just a really cool experience. The reason I liked it was because who I was hanging out before is we would hang out in a basement and smoke.
Okay.
Coming into this opportunity, we're hanging out with a guy who has a Porsche. They live in a mansion. And I'm like,
Right.
wow. And then getting around them, I always thought reading was dumb. I always thought things like that were silly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading books. He would give me his old books to read, and I would go through it, and I would see the notes he's writing down in there. And I'm like, yo, this dude really cares.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got me to change into okay, I should actually care about what I'm doing rather than just living through the motions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's all of a lesson to learn at that age because, I mean, a lot of people it takes them a long time to get there.
Right.
I have people that are 45 years old still haven't figured that out.
Yeah.
It's I was saying this too. I forget who was here recently. But if you were to take the income of the 5 people you spend the most time with and average that, that's going to be your income 9 times out of 10.
Right.
And it's not that money's everything, but, I mean, you learn without money is a lot of shit you can't do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are afraid or don't want to separate themselves from whatever it is, that friend group they grew up with. And it's dude, at some point we got to grow up and move on. And to your point, do you want to be sitting around in the basement hanging around with a bunch of guys doing nothing or some guys driving Porsches and Silverados or whatever the hell, How did you do selling early on? Because life insurance different than selling weed,
Yeah.
What was that? Especially being 18, everyone you're meeting was a lot older, right?
Right.
I got a license at I think I was 22 or 3, and even that was a little I had to overcome this deal of me being 22 years old, sitting down with an 80-year-old, and trying to advise them on something. right? How did you deal with that at being 18?
So really, I lucked out when it comes down to sitting down with people because it was the heart of COVID.
Okay.
So we had just switched everything over to virtual.
Yep.
And really, we were selling kids policies at the time. So there wasn't a ton of sales pressure.
Okay.
And I could relate to the fact like people had kids, things like that around me.
Yep.
So it was easier for me to make the sales. The harder thing was for me, I was very bad in school. So coming into my senior year, I had 11 credits. You need 44 to graduate.
Holy shit.
So they put me into a PM Achieve, which is just like a nighttime class, and you work your way through the credit recoveries. So this is when I just got this job, right? And this is January.
Yeah.
Everyone else graduates in June. I ended up graduating in April, so I still graduated early because I got into insurance. They like, I sat there, I'd be around other people, and they actually told me that I can't get a license unless I graduate, which is it's not true. So they just lied to me, but at least I got my diploma. So that was the biggest thing, and like I couldn't read. And like I seriously couldn't read.
You couldn't read?
No, I was
seriously.
I was dyslexic, so I couldn't read, and I couldn't read out loud at all. Like I would just be nothing.
Yeah.
So like that was the hardest thing that I had to overcome, was understanding, okay, breaking down this script and then reading something I know nothing about confidently. So that was the hardest thing for me, and it just took a lot of practice inside and outside of work. Like I wasn't afraid to go get in the mirror and read it to myself, you know. So that was the biggest thing. Like I would script train with anyone who would work with me.
Got it.
And that was just the biggest thing.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to overcome that?
I got my first sale my third week.
Okay.
So my third week. And then to actually like know the script, like I was doing it so much that I knew it by like my second week by heart. Yeah.
Why'd you work so hard at this before you had results?
I just knew this was my last opportunity.
Yeah.
Like actually, so like the big thing, like I know I mentioned it earlier, like I was selling weed, and like it's not a secret. My mom knew, everybody knew, and they hated it. Like she would be crying, and you know, I don't like that.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be the family disappointment. And like,
did you feel like you were?
Oh, I knew I was. She would tell me I was a fuck up. Like, you know, and I love her for it though. That's the biggest thing. Like she at 13, she's like, you're gonna be dead or in jail by 18.
Wow.
That's something you need to hear though.
Yeah.
You know? Like she didn't want to say that. So
do you have siblings? You only child?
Yeah, I have two older brothers.
Okay.
So once I got into this opportunity, I knew that was my last option. And it's like, dude, if that, like, I'm going to be a garbage man. I'm going to work in HVAC. Like, I'm not going to do anything with my life if I don't take this serious. So even when they were saying things like, my mom used to say, like, you could hire John for 17 cents an hour and he'll work 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, all I heard was, he'll work 20 hours a day. I'm like, yeah. You know I will. So it's like, that was the biggest thing, is like, I didn't really care about the results at the time. I knew they would come.
And the work ethic was not an issue for you?
Not at all.
No. Where's that come from?
I mean, my mom, she was a hairstylist and barber during the nights, or during the days, and then at night she'd be a waitress. Yeah. And then my dad, he was an electrician. He would leave the house 3 a.m, come back 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Got it. So blue collar, hardworking.
Yeah.
What did they think when you got into life insurance?
They hated it.
Why?
Well, one where I was working, it was very
different
negative
company.
reviews.
Gotcha. Okay.
But also like, when it would come, I would say things like, "They're just like, dude, you're getting scammed. Like, you are getting scammed." And I'm like, no, I'm serious.
Yeah,
like,
it's legit.
Yeah. So like that, they hated that at first. Once I got over to Family First Life, that's when I started seeing a change, because I was out of the house a lot more.
Yeah.
And I was like doing in-homes, things like that. And then when I actually got into the accident, they had access to my bank accounts and things, and they're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, what are you doing? Like, this is really what you've been doing? And they like, at that point, they didn't even know I could pay my rent. So
what was the most, we won't name the company, but what was the most you made at the other company in a year?
In a year?
Yeah.
30K.
30K.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost what you were close to making at Target and Wendy's.
Right. With less hours.
With less hours, yeah. Then you guys joined us. You joined when Jay moved over?
No, Jay was here for about 6 months to a year before I came over.
Got it. Why'd you wait?
So before he left, he ended up moving to Nebraska, and they put me on a different team.
Got it.
So we were just not in connects.
Okay. And then what, he reach out to you after he was here? Or?
No, I reached out to him.
You saw what he was doing?
Well, yeah, because there was a lot of behind the scenes at the other company. You know, they're messing with my pay and stuff like that, which really made me look outward. And then I called a couple people, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I talked to some guys at FFL. They're like, well, this is good, this is good, this is good.
Yeah.
I called Jay. I'm like, what sucks? I was like, what's awful?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this sucks. Like, we don't have a leadership. We don't have an office. Like, he was working out of his apartment at the time.
Got it.
So I was like, let's do it together, bro. Like, we could open up an office. We could do whatever together. And he's like, yeah, let's do it.
So you guys kind of partnered up.
Yeah.
And you got, what'd you sell your first year with us?
First year, I think it was 170,000.
Got it. And you have a big team, too. So I was looking at numbers, and, like, there's more agency numbers. Even this year, this is through 3 weeks of February, you're almost at $1 million.
Right.
You think you're going to hit Agency Hall of Fame this year?
Yeah, I know I am.
You did last year.
I
right?
didn't. I didn't.
Oh, you
it was
didn't?
my
No,
goal. I came up short.
Got it. Oh yeah, you're a little over $6 million.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're on. You're not on pace, but you're pretty damn close.
With what we got going on behind the scenes, like I know the numbers don't reflect, but I think we will hit it for sure. Just because open up a new office this year, all the cubicles are full, all the offices are full, and like we're already looking to like get another office. So I think for sure like the numbers will reflect shortly.
Got it. I wanted to bring up some stuff here. Do you we'll get some photos here, John? So don't get nervous. All right. Well, first of all, this one's easy. Let's go here.
Lucas,
what do we got going on here?
So this was when we got down to Nebraska. We were staying with Jay. We had about 15, 20 people staying in his apartment.
Okay.
In that room, it's a bad picture, but we had 6 people sleeping on there with 3 air mattresses.
Was it Airbnb or hotel?
This was Jay's apartment.
Jay's apartment.
So yeah, we finally got the extra room in there.
Yeah.
We had 6 people sleeping in there, and it was just like that every single day. It's like you would wake up. Everyone's right next to you. It's 5 a.m. There's one bathroom.
Yeah.
So that was just like the everyday life, what it looked like when we were coming up in this industry. Is like it wasn't sunshine and rainbows.
Right. And you guys were still going in-home then?
Yeah, this was all in-home.
Got it. Actually, I think we got a little video. All right. What do we got here?
So this is like the homes we were going to. So a lot of times, like I tell people, like, hey, we were going to Section 8 properties and selling life insurance. Like nobody believes me.
Right.
This is what the houses and apartments look like. And for that, I know it's hard to see, but it's a rectangle. Yeah. There's one way in and one way out. And at the door is where all the residents stay. It's like downstairs underneath that.
Yeah.
There's like 80 people standing in front of the gates. So it's like you had to walk in. You're like already like, oh, dude.
Yeah. Like,
and then like, but one thing I learned like selling or going to in-homes and things like that in Chicago is like even in the South Side, like they would say like, why are you here?
Yeah.
So well, I'm the life insurance guy. Well, nobody's gonna shoot the life insurance guy.
Right.
Hopefully.
You hope not. Yeah.
Hopefully. So it's like that's how I learned like saying who you are is really gonna help you. Like you walk in like, hey, I'm the life insurance guy. Where does this guy live? They'll walk you to his house.
Yeah.
So it's like just understanding your situation. Like people do value you as a life insurance agent.
Right. And the thing is, going into those areas, most agents don't go there.
Right.
Because they're afraid. They don't think they have money. I'm looking for the big. I mean, there's some companies, not us, but there's some companies where all they do is chase that giant premium.
Right.
They'll meet with a guy 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times to write one massive policy when they're driving by places like this where do they need insurance too?
Yeah.
And it's almost like the person with, that doesn't have a lot of times they're a lot more thankful for you going out.
100%.
What was it like meeting with these people?
Oh, I mean, it was a mix of both. I mean, you got the crazy and you got the thankful people, And the weird thing about Section 8, it's not one demographic as many as people would think. You got younger people taking advantage. Yep. You have older people that are really grateful to be in this situation.
Yeah.
And then you have just full-blown, like, crack houses.
Right.
You know what I mean? You walk in, there's everyone sleeping.
Yep.
So, I mean, I liked it a lot just because it gave me exposure to a lot of real problems.
Yeah.
So, and then, like you said earlier, like, nobody was going out to these areas.
Yeah.
So, I got the team, and we went to Aldi, we went to St. Louis, we went to Detroit, we went everywhere.
Got it.
Everywhere. So, like, that was the big thing. Is like, we're going to places that were never even sold. Nobody's even talked to them.
Right.
They're like, we requested insurance 10 times. I'm like,
yeah.
There you go.
You school a bunch of old leads that no one's ever called for, fraction of the dollar.
Yeah.
And they are, I mean, you meet with someone in those positions in life insurance, dude, it's like winning the lottery when they cash in. And everyone's going to die. And they cash in, we're all going to die. But going out there and meeting with people where most people ignore, and that's kind of how when we built this company, it was based on middle America. The percentage of the population that most financial advisors, they ignore. Mm-hmm. They want the big money, dude. They want the houses by the beach, and they want to write, 2 massive policies every quarter and go count their money.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, let's go meet the blue-collar families, the single-income families, the Section 8 families, the people that they need insurance as well.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, most people would, jump the gun and meet with the other population.
I did have a guy, and he was like, well, I don't want to go out there. They don't have money. I'm like, they're on Section 8. They get paid by the government on the 3rd. How do they not have money on the 3rd?
Right.
They put the draft date for the 3rd. They have money.
Correct.
Like, the government has money.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, they may not have $500 for a policy, but, hey, I bet they got $80 for a final expense.
100%.
A lot of final expense you guys are
Yeah, pretty much, because of qualifications, of course.
Absolutely. I got another one here, John.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right, dude. What happened?
So I was 20, and this is when the money started rolling in.
Okay.
This is when the money came in. And
this was what, last year?
A year and a half ago. So I went out, bought a Scat Pack.
Yeah.
It was a shaker. And then,
which is awesome, dude. I own a Charger. I don't got the Scat. I got the RT. But dude, so I guess when you're older, you learn these. I test drove a Scat Pack, and you know what I said? I'm gonna get in trouble with this.
Well, that's what I said too, and then I bought
and then
it.
you bought it. All right. So what happened here?
So we went out for break, grabbed some food. We were heading back to the office, and
you were out dialing or something?
No, yeah. We were just we went to get food, but before that, we were at the office calling. It was just my birthday, so we went to a steakhouse for lunch.
Yep.
And then we were heading back, and no one was in the car with me, but I did a pool. Like me and my friend were racing, and we were in a parking lot where it's like goes in circles.
Okay.
So we're racing side by side, and I like fly past me. He's an RT Charger.
Nice.
So fly past him, and I'm just moving. I'm blowing every stop sign. Like I'm going. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then like the tire couldn't grip when I was on a turn, and I ended up hitting a boulder head on. Wow. So after that, I ended up getting brought to the hospital unconscious. Yeah. And from there, I spent 2 weeks in the hospital unconscious, and then from there, 60 days in the hospital once I woke up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you hit this boulder, knocks you out instantly or no?
Knocked me out instantly. Then I woke up, called 911, tried to get out, and then I knocked out again.
Wow. And we won't show this here, but you showed me body cam, like you're laid out on the ground, or your friends like poking you. Like kids when you fall asleep, like, Daddy, you awake? Like,
yeah.
So you were laid out. So you remember calling the cops. What's the next thing you remember?
I tried to get out, and then after that, I woke up. I was in the hospital. I had my arms tied down and things like that, and they were putting a tube in my throat. And then after that, they put me out like in a coma.
Did you puncture lungs or something? Or?
Yeah, well, I had punctured lungs, and then I had 6 broken ribs, which didn't make it any better. Yeah. So the whole time they were just trying to vacuum like the blood out of my lungs, so I could breathe. I think the first day they said they resuscitated me 13 times throughout the night. Wow. And then after that, because like my lip was cut open and then my arm was broken, and they couldn't even do anything with that. Yeah. Until the 3rd day, like my lip stayed cut open until the 3rd day because they were just trying to get me stable.
Everything. Wow. You almost died.
100%.
Why do you think you didn't?
Here for a reason.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. What'd you learn from this?
Well, I learned that money's not everything, and not to make bad decisions, because like ultimately, like I didn't really care. I didn't care I was in the hospital. I did not care that I didn't have insurance on the card. I had to pay $40,000.
Wait, hold on. You sell life insurance. You have a life insurance agency. Y'all do. We just talked about almost $1 million.
Yeah.
And you didn't have car insurance?
No. So it was a couple weeks before my 21st birthday. Okay. Premiums go down on your 21st birthday. I only had the car 20 days. So I was going to buy it when I turned 21, which was the day I turned 21. I crashed it. Oh, my God. So that was the story on that. Yeah. But the biggest thing I learned from it, though, is like your actions affect other people more. Yeah. You know what I mean? My whole team was in the hospital every single day those 60 days. Wow. I had 14 people in the ICU for those 2 weeks. You're only allowed to have 2 of your immediate family in the ICU. Like nobody cared about the rules. They're like, we're going to come visit them. Right. So like that's the big thing, is like all these guys were not only traumatized for the guys that pulled me out of the car, but they understood that like if something happens to me, they have to take care of the whole agency. So that was the biggest thing about me, is like I just had to understand that I am needed around here and that my actions do have consequences. Yeah. You feel kind of bad after? I felt bad for that. I didn't care about me. I felt bad for the other people. Yeah, for the people that were like around, Yeah. What did your mom think? She was pissed. No, yeah, she was a wreck about it for sure. And then when I woke up, she was like, I don't know, she's yelling at me or something, and I was like, I'm still on all these drugs in the hospital. I'm like, she's like, what are you gonna do? I was like, buy a faster car. She's like, you asshole. Like, yeah, it's probably not the good move. Yeah. I see here you opened your first office when your team was starting to do $200K. Yeah, I was 19. You were 19. You did it on your own. Jay advised you, like no. So Jay was opening up his office in Nebraska, and I was not going back to Nebraska. Okay. So I was like, dude, I'm gonna open an office too. And he's like, well, bro, you don't have the credit. Like, you guys don't have the people. And I was like, dude, watch. And then so he got his office, and we got ours like 2 weeks later, and it was me, Max Kanapka, Lucas Constados on the lease, because Max was 18, me and Lucas are 19. Yeah. They're like, why are you on an office? So we all got on the lease, just ended up grabbing like a 2,700 square feet office. Yeah. It was like $5,000 a month, and then we just blew up out of there. Yeah. It was crazy. You get these questions all the time. When's the right time to open an office? I mean, it all depends how serious you are in business, right? Yeah. Like some people wait too long. Some people, day one, they haven't sold the policy. But I mean, $200K compared to what do you guys do a month now? So $500,000 to $600,000 right now. Okay, so over double that. Yeah.
why did you know, or did you know it was the right move at the time?
Well, yeah, because before that, so I was like, everyone's young. I was the only one with an apartment.
Yeah.
I was having 15 guys come to my apartment every day.
Got it.
The apartment was the office. So I didn't have a ton of money and things like that. So people say, like, well, how much money should I have? It doesn't matter if you work hard. I tell that to everyone. It doesn't. So it's like, if I get more bills, I'm going to pay them. Like, that's the end result. They're going to get paid.
Yeah.
So I just jumped into it when I was like, all right, we don't have enough closets for people to dial in. I'm like, let's grab an office.
Right. When actually, before I ask you this question, I'm going to read a stat. This is a Limmer stat here. So in 2011, 64% of people said they preferred to buy life insurance in person. Okay. By 2020, only 41% fell that way. In 23, it dropped to 29%. So it's a 35% drop in 14 years. Mm-hmm. You started at the old company. Were you in-home or virtual? Virtual. You started with us. You guys were in-home. We saw the places you were going. You're virtual now, right?
Yes.
When did you switch to virtual?
So we actually did this twice. So my third month, we were doing 50,000. We were doing all in-homes.
Yeah.
My fourth month, we did 157,000. That was the month we switched from in-home to virtual.
Got it.
For the first time.
Yeah.
After that, we maintained like about 200,000-300,000, and then our numbers started to drop like crazy.
Really?
And it was just because.
Why do you think?
The office environment, like we had a lot of fun, but the problem was like the people started going there for fun.
Got it.
And that's when I was like, all right, guys, we're all in homes again. We're gonna go. I was like, I booked us an Airbnb in St. Louis. We're gonna bring all 30 of us over there, and it's like a 2-bedroom Airbnb. It's like I always call it tricking them. It's like, all right, grab your air mattresses, we're heading out.
Right.
And then but we get down there, and then immediately we submitted like $100,000 in 3 days.
Okay.
And we started calling them lock-ins, like because it is a lock-in, but we're not learning, we're just selling.
Right.
So then we started doing 4 lock-ins a month, and we went from 100,000 to 400,000, like a fluke almost, and then dropped back down to like 330, which is where we maintained coming into January of last year.
Yeah.
So that's when we went back to that, and then from there, once we got down to Florida, opened that office up in January. That's when we switched all the way back to virtual again.
Okay. How'd you manage to not have the production drop this time?
So it did. That's
it did
the thing.
again.
So yeah, we got up to 763,000 was our best month.
Yeah. When was that?
It had to be like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm trying to think of the exact month. It was
towards the later part of last year.
It was October. It was October. So in October we did that, and then from there, when we did the move, we had a big part of our team fall off. It was about 200. It was an agency. They fell off. Went somewhere else
because they didn't want to do virtual.
They didn't want to move with us.
They didn't want to move,
and I was like, it's not even. We still have the office in Florida.
Right.
Long story short, they moved. They don't really care. We're gonna get it back.
Absolutely.
But so we dropped back down to 500,000, which isn't a problem. But now we're on track. I always say we removed the cancer. Mm-hmm. We got rid of every single agent that was doing more harm than good.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's like a conversation most people aren't willing to have.
Correct.
Where I was willing to do it. It's like, hey, you came to my office with drugs. You don't have a job here.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you have a job here? Right. So it's like conversations like that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And we cut a lot of people they put up numbers, but it's like at what cost?
Right.
So now we got a solid crew coming in. We got a lot of good leaders, and we're going to have an explosive year for sure.
Yeah. It's like, addition by subtraction. And it's hard to explain to someone when they're going through it because all they're thinking is, I'm losing this volume. This team's quitting. Right. Dude, we just went through it as a company. Mm-hmm. We had a handful of people quit right before convention. In January, we hit 50 million as a company. It's the biggest month ever with less people.
Right.
But it's weird. You get the cancer out, and the people that are here, the good people, they'll do more.
100%.
Negative people weigh down everyone around them, dude. That shit spreads.
Yeah.
And it is a hard conversation to have. And it especially, do you know how many times I've had people sell me on, but Mike, listen, he's going to sell. I'm like, dude, he rolled you $100K, John. Yeah, I want to put him back on advance. He's going to outright it, Mike. I'm like, oh my God, dude. No, he's not. He's going to roll up another $100,000.
Like, does he even have a payment plan?
No.
I had a similar problem.
Yeah.
I was like, 20, he rolled him $20,000. He's like, well, dude, he's going to do it. I'm like, he's not even writing that carrier.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yep. It's crazy, dude. But think about, this stat here, in 2011, 64% of people wanted you to go out to the house to sell life insurance. And as of a couple years ago, it's down to 29%. That I think in the next 5 years, that's going to be like 5%.
100%.
And that's where it's going. And in this business, you have to evolve or you'll die. And that's why it's like, do we only want young people? No, but it's easier to convince you. You're what, 22 now?
22.
It's easier to convince you that, hey, John, first of all, direct mail leads are not the way to go. In a couple years, you'll be paying $300 a lead because no one opens their mail. Like, do you even know where your mailbox is?
No, I don't have one.
You don't have one, right? Like, you're 22. Everything's email.
Yeah.
Right? And also, no one's going to want you to go out to the house. But if you've been here for 15 years, it's harder for me to get you to evolve, to change. You're like, dude, Mike, this is the way I do it. I've been doing it for years. Like, I know, but you're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to get left behind because that number is going to drop lower and lower to where nobody wants you to come out to the house.
1,000%.
You got two options. You can move to virtual or you can be out of business, essentially.
And I always talk to my guys. I'm like, who's been here for a big change? Whether it was opening an office, whether it was going virtual to in-homes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the guys I know I could ride with because that's when you lose the most people.
Right.
It's like, you have to be adaptable, otherwise you lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's something I've known from the beginning, and I feel like a lot of the experiences that I had in insurance or out of insurance, like, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I could think of the real reason why it's happening rather than what an emotional person would think of.
Right.
Because I'm not very emotional. So that's the good thing that I like about this business is it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it hurts me when people can't make it simple.
Right. They complicate it.
I'm like, you read a script.
Right.
That's it. Call them. Like, that's it. It's like, what's hard?
Right.
And that's the big thing. And what I try to show people early on is I put them in an uncomfortable situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they'll come in, I'll buy the worst leads on purpose, like 10-year-old aged leads. And they're like, why you have me calling these? I'm like, because you're not good yet.
Right.
Which isn't a problem. Like, I don't expect you to be good walking in.
Sure.
But I want you to have the exposure of the worst leads. So that way when you're dialing those good leads, you're grateful. Because that's what happened to me. It's like I dialed the worst leads. When I got good leads, I was so grateful there wasn't a day I
You started on oldest league? Like, what'd you start?
So at the other company that was called, we had 25 leads a week.
Okay.
And they were the leads that your upline had the week before. And they're called child safety kits. So they're the worst leads ever.
Right.
So I was used to calling those. And when I came here and they're like, you could buy a mailer for $3.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's the best thing in the world.
Right.
So I started buying like $300 of leads a day when I had no money. And that's what basically got me to
credit
this
card
point.
or something?
Yeah. Well, I had 2 personal loans, negative checking account, and then 3 credit cards maxed out when I got to FFO.
That's when you got here.
When I got here. So I took 200 of Jay's old leads.
Yeah.
Me and Lucas, I talk about Lucas a lot. He's been with me since the beginning, basically. We took those leads. Within 15 minutes, we booked 20 appointments for the next day.
Okay.
That next day, we went out, sold 8,000. The commission hit the day after that, and we were on.
Yeah.
I was like, and like we weren't very big on spending money. Like, I hate spending money. So it was like we would literally take that $8,000 and put it into leads.
Yeah.
Like, that's what helped us blow up is like we weren't worried about, okay, what designer I got. Like, I wear a black T-shirt every day.
Yeah.
Like, I went to TJ Maxx for this one yesterday. So it's like we wear simple stuff. Like, I'm a very simple person. And that's what allowed us to get into the lead flow to actually blow us up.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, it was just waiting to have lead flow.
Dude, it's a great point. You see, just the wrong mentality a lot of times. You get guys that come just like you. Hey, I got credit card debt. I got this. I got that. They get their first commission check, and they're like, I got to go pay off my Capital One bill. I'm like, John, you've had that debt for like 2 years.
Like, it could wait.
It can wait another month. It's like, now you have no money for leads. Yeah, I know, but I paid off my $5,000 credit card, Mike. Yeah, but how are you going to sell next week?
Yeah.
You're not. But you had this, was that like, I mean, 'cause you're young. How did you get that mentality? Was Jay advising you? Like, how did you know that was the right move?
I just never really cared.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. I think a lack of care when it comes to, right in the beginning was a benefit to me because like a personal loan negative checking account and you get that low in money and you can't eat and you're paying your credit card off so it has $1 so you fill your gas tank up and like overdo it.
Right.
Like when you're doing that, you really don't care.
No.
So it's like my credit was already like a 400. I didn't know about credit repair, which is great. Like I have had credit repair since then and I'm in good standings now. But it's like, dude, you have 2 late payments. Your credit has already been hit.
Right.
What do you care?
Exactly.
You're not going to get a raise on your credit card by paying it off.
Correct.
So it's like, I was like, okay, I need to spend money to make money. Me and Jay used to always say this all the time. Scared money doesn't make money.
Right.
And like we would say it, we would write it on the mirror, like everything. And it's like, if you're going to be scared, quit now.
Yeah.
You'll never make it. But if you're not going to be scared and you're willing to invest in your business, and you have to be willing to put the work in. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. People put money up for leads, don't sell. It's like, you can't just buy them and look at them.
Right.
It doesn't come with the bank info and the social and everything. Like, you gotta sell them.
Yep.
So like that's the big thing is just understanding like you will get compensated for the money and work you put into it. Mm-hmm. And it's like if that's something you want, then go for it. But if it's not, you're in the wrong industry.
I remember at the old company, this was like 15 years ago, when Sean recruited me, we were selling, and the leads, you would put in your lead order, and you'd get them instantly, but you were billed on Friday.
Yeah.
So we'd say, free till Friday, bro. Go make something happen. But I was in the same boat. No money, negative account, whatever. But I learned this hack. I don't know if it still works with a debit card. If you go to get gas and put it in as credit, it doesn't charge anything that day, right? So I got no money in there, but I'm like, I need gas to go run my appointments. My plan was get a bunch of leads, get some gas, go run my appointments, and make some money before Friday to cover it, right? And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So that's it. If you're in that, try that hack. I don't know if it still works, dude. Fortunately, I don't need to do it anymore, but I did a lot of that. Just, dude, swipe, cross your fingers. Hopefully I can get some gas. But it's like, you got to have that, like, level of not give up, because is it really the end of the world that, Capital One, 5,000, or you're a little late here? You're thinking about the future. Yeah. And you got people living in the now and how bad it is now. Yeah,
and that's something I learned early on, is like I don't care what's going on in this moment. I'm more of what's going to happen in the future. Where do I want to take things? And like, even when my mom would be like, hey, like, you can go get a job in HVAC, make more money. I'm like, I'll quit when I make a couple mil. Like, I'm not doing it until then. Like, I know this opportunity works for others. Yeah. I've seen, there was this one guy that I met early on, dumb as rocks. And he made $300,000 the year before. I'm like, if he did that, right, I could do that.
Absolutely.
And like, that's like, she didn't see that, and that's the difference. It's like, I'm seeing it live. I'm like, these guys, they're not all there, and they're making money. Correct. And like, that's when you see them change into the person they are now. You know what I mean? And they make a big difference in their life. But I always go back to that and think like, okay, I want to do $1 million a month, and then after that, I want to do $1 million a week. Like, I'm not thinking about, okay, I did $500K this month, $600K this month. Like, how can I get to $1 million? You're going to get through that by growing, right? So hiring, and then you're going to get that by selling. So selling more. How can you sell more? IULs, right? Yep. So that's what I did, is like, I got a bunch of recruiting campaigns going. I hired 20-something people personally last week, and it's like, I got the whole team doing that now, and it's like, it's a domino effect from there. Right. You're going to get everyone in, and everyone knows they got to get on the vet leads, the IUL leads, mortgage leads, like at the minimum mortgage leads. Yeah. And that's what's going to change the FFL all in, is because before we were all final expense putting up $400,000 a month. Right. Like, you get them guys on IULs, it's going to be
When did you switch to IULs?
January.
Just January. Yeah. So literally a couple months now.
Right.
What have you noticed so far?
The biggest thing, the closes are higher. Yeah. So higher closes. I've noticed the retention go up almost immediately. So by the ratio, right off.
Would yours go up 20% or so?
Dude, we were sitting at 68, and now on the VP bonus report, they're coming in 96, 97, things like that, and you're like, dude, like, we're placing some business. Yeah. So that's the big thing. I don't know long term because it hasn't stayed on long enough, but I know the stats for the company is 92%, correct? Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's copy and paste. Everything's copy and paste.
It was funny. Think about growth and how crazy it is. When we started this company, 2014, our first year, we did about $12 million in life. So last year, you did half of what we did year one. Yeah. So, when you say things like, I can get to $1 million a week, that's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. When we got to $1 million a week, Sean said we'll be $1 billion company in 10 years. And that was like probably our second or third year. Yeah. And last year, we missed it by about $200 million, and this year we'll most likely hit it.
100%.
When he said it, though, we had small staff. There's probably like 6 of us. A couple of us just sat there like, dude, I mean, you've met Sean. You're like, he says crazy shit all the time. Yeah. $1 billion, okay. A couple people were like, there's no way we're going to get it. But it's crazy how you speak things into existence. You don't make them a big deal. People make things a big deal. Right. You said this is simple. This is one of the simplest things. It's not easy, though. Not at all. Because you got to work. You have to change who you are most of the time. Most people don't come in as this guy who can go out and write $50K a month or $100K a month. You got to do some work. Right. Like you talked about, redefining your associations in a way, right? Like you don't hang out with the same crowd you did prior to this. Right. Was that hard at a young age to do?
So for me, I was around the crowd since, like I said, like 11, 12 years old. Yeah. We would hang out at the park. I'm hanging out with 16, 18-year-olds. Yeah. So it's like my friends were 26 when I was 18. So looking at their life, I'm like, you live with your mom. Right. You have 2 kids with 2 different women and no girlfriend. Yeah. It's like your life sucks. Like you're working at Little Caesars, still selling weed. And I'm like,
Right.
It's not what I want. You know what I mean? So that wasn't hard. And then like getting in, they told me like it's the hardest $60,000 a year job and the easiest $1 million a year job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, thinking about that long term, it's like cutting people off isn't hard. If I'm like, I'm gonna make $60,000 this year. I was like, holy shit, that's and that's
to you
hard.
that was a lot.
And
Like, at that point,
I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And like so, like I would try to hire on some people. Like certain people, I was just like, not a chance.
Yeah.
But it's like you bring them in, and you start to see their work ethic, and it's like, dude, you have none of the values that I have. Like deep down, whether I knew I had those values or not, I'm like, you're not a respectable person.
Right.
I'm like, your girl works more than you.
Yeah.
Like your girl drives you around.
So you learned early on, I don't want to be where they are.
Not at all.
Even though they're my friends, even though I know them. That's people, well, you don't understand. Like, I've known them since I was 5. I don't give a shit.
What'd they do for you?
Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care. You could be related. I don't care if you're negative and you're dragging me down or you're in a place where I don't want to be. I don't need to be around you.
100%.
We get to do this thing once, dude. I'm not trying to hang out with you the whole time.
Yeah.
What's been your best year income wise with us?
It would have been last year.
What'd you make?
800,000.
You made 800,000.
Yeah.
You grossed.
Yeah.
And your best year previous to this was 30K at the old company.
No, because I had last year. Well, the
I'm
year
sorry, before you
year
joined
before
FFL,
last year.
before you
Before I
joined-
joined FFL.
Yeah.
The best year was about 30,000.
About 30,000.
Yeah.
How much you spend last year?
347,000.
347,000.
Just got my P&L report.
Yeah. And it's like, almost 40%, right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember when we first started building agencies back in the day, and these guys used to get so like hung up on their profit margins. Like, my profit was only 50%. And Sean broke down the stat. He's like, dude, Exxon's big oil company. He's like, you know what their profit margin is? I don't remember the exact number, but it was something ridiculous.
It's like 2%.
Yeah, it was less than 5%.
Yeah.
But on the amount of volume they were doing, it's like, would you want 5% of $1 billion or 60% of $100,000, dude?
Yeah.
It's small thinking, That's awesome though. 800K. What's your goal this year?
I want to do 2 million.
2 million.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I'm definitely gonna do it at least. And then the other thing, the big goal for me this year is I've had my 2 years at good income.
Yeah.
So with 1099, I could actually go get a house now. So I'm looking currently at houses in between 1.2 and 1.5 million, and I'm 22 years old. It's gonna be my first house.
Yeah. Good for you, dude. That's awesome. What have you learned about money?
Not to neglect it.
What do you mean?
Not to neglect it. So a lot of times when you're young and you get money, a lot of people get around you, whether they're older, whether they're younger, and they're always trying to get money, whether it's to benefit them or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got to really pay attention to, okay, what bills are you setting up? Like a lot of people put shit on auto pay and it just goes on forever. Yeah. I don't put anything on auto pay. I have my assistant pay it every month.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'd rather pay an assistant than put something on auto pay because I know it's manageable now. Now I have a spreadsheet with every single thing I pay for.
Yeah.
The other thing is like if you're getting the money and you're just going out and doing anything you want with it, like pleasure wise, like say buying new cars, things like that. Like I bought a new car this year after total. That was my first car I've ever bought on finance. Totaled it. Didn't have insurance.
Skyback was the first car you bought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought that, and then after that, totaled that. I didn't have a car for the whole year.
Yeah.
And then what I would do is like if I really needed a car. So for example, right after the accident, this is like 2 months, or this is a month after I got out of the hospital, or like 2 weeks after I got out of the hospital. Sean was having an event in Boca, and I was like, I'm gonna go, and I couldn't fly because I had a brain injury, so like they were worried I'd have a seizure. So I rented a U-Haul truck and drove 26 hours to go to that event.
Wait, why a U-Haul truck?
Because I wasn't old enough. Well, I guess I was old enough to rent other cars at the time, but U-Haul was just easier.
Okay.
So I was just used to renting U-Hauls. So I rented a U-Haul, drove down there, went to the event, and that was the first time I met Sean.
You were in Chicago?
Yeah.
You drove from Chicago to Boca.
Yeah.
In a U-Haul truck.
Yeah.
For a meeting.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I was going to meet Sean.
Okay. You never met Sean prior to that?
No.
You ever talked to him?
Like since then?
No, before that.
No.
No. What did you know about Sean at that point?
Nothing.
Nothing. So why did you want to meet him?
I don't know. I was like, Jay was going too, and he was saying, obviously Sean's the CEO of the company, things like that. He's like, it was the meeting. There's one meeting a year for it. It's you know what that meeting's called? Like the up and comers.
Oh, Rising Stars or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I got invited to it. So I was like, I'm going to go.
You're like, I ain't missing out on this.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going. So went down there, and my right arm didn't work. So I couldn't shake anyone's hands. So it's like you ever be in one of those meetings for the first time? It's the worst place to not shake someone's hand.
What do you mean it didn't work? You couldn't move it?
No, it was stuck like this. I couldn't wiggle my fingers or nothing. So it was completely paralyzed. They cut something in there, a nerve. So I had to regrow over last year. Like I'm just getting like mobility back in it. Yeah.
So everyone's trying to shake your hand, and you're pounding with the left.
and then I had to shake Sean's hand because like I said something, and he's like stand up, like what's your name? Shake my hand. I was like so I get up and I'm like, and he like shakes my hand, and he's like after he's like, what are you doing? I could have broke your arm. He's like, you just fist bumped me. I'm like, all right, next time.
That's funny. What'd you get out of that meeting?
Oh, a lot, because I didn't know anything about insurance. I knew how to sell it. Yeah. I knew I needed to recruit, but I didn't know anything else. I didn't know carriers mattered. Yeah. I didn't know persistency mattered. I didn't even know what an IUL was. So like I learned a lot in that meeting for sure.
So it was worth the 26-hour trip in the U-Haul truck.
100%.
Were you bringing a bunch of shit with you, or
no?
You said empty U-Haul truck.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever works, dude. You obviously, if your team's at over 1 million already this year, you're recruiting.
Right.
Where are you doing most of your recruiting?
Meta, so Facebook, Instagram,
okay.
A lot of that. And then obviously, dude, I'm one of those people I talk to everyone.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm the first one to walk in a room, shake hands, say like, "Hey, my name's John Egan."
Yeah.
And the second thing I usually say is, "Hey, I'm hiring." Like, you know what I mean? So every time I go, whether I go get food, go pick it up, whether I DoorDash, like every single person, "Hey, do you want a better job? Hey, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
You currently in college? You married to this career?" Things like that. I'm always asking. So a lot of in person.
Yeah.
And then social media, and then just warm network as well.
What's been the most like obscure place you recruited, like a DoorDash, a Wendy's, or?
There's got to be a really good one.
Yeah.
I know, like, so for example, one of the, like, my first hire ever was in a Portillo's drive-thru. Do you guys have Portillo's?
No.
It's good. So it's like a hot dog place.
Okay.
So he was working in the drive-thru, and they stand out there in these yellow vests, and it's freezing, and they have to take your order and, like, give you your money. And I was like, "Hey, bro, do you know Spanish?" He goes, "Yeah," because he played football with the kid. He's like, "Yeah, I know Spanish." He's like, "If it's written down." I was like, "Dude, my company, we're hiring Spanish reps right now. Like, I could get you in, bro."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got you, bro." So I get him in. He doesn't know any Spanish at all. He can't read it. He can't write it. I'm like, "You still got the job, man. Good job." So I mean, that was a funny one. But I
cool.
hire people everywhere. I go.
That's awesome. It's funny you say it, dude. I've seen Sean do that for years. Like even to this day, like he's not building his own team. Obviously, he's president of the company. But there's like, I forget what place it was, but he's recruited almost every valet driver that's there. Like he just keeps recruiting them.
Yeah.
But dude, and you can't prejudge. The thing about where people get messed up in recruiting is if I ask you and you say no, that's not a failure. I just checked you off my list. All right, John said no. Well, let me go ask Taylor. Let me go ask this person.
Getting closer to the right one.
Exactly. It's not. There's nothing you did wrong. If you asked me to join, I'm like, no, dude, I'm good. Yeah. Okay, move on to the next one.
In the beginning, I used to get upset. Like people would be like, "Oh, it's a scam, it's that."
Yeah.
I used to be like, "Man, like no, it's not." And like get upset, but like now it's like seeing what I've seen over the past couple of years. They're like, "It's a scam. You're broke." I'm like, "You're right."
Yeah. Right. Okay, buddy.
My life's miserable.
Right.
So it's like sad. Like finding comedy in it's really good too. It's like once you get through that barrier of okay, I'm scared to go up and talk to somebody to okay, now it's fun, it's a game. Like that's how I kind of trick my mind into like I'm gonna talk to whoever I want. Like I'm gonna go in any room and talk to them.
What do you do to maintain your mindset? You in any personal development, reading, videos? Like how do you maintain that?
Yeah, so definitely reading. So any leadership book, sales book, John Maxwell, any video podcast,
you got a favorite book?
Anything he's on.
You got to go.
So I like Extreme Ownership.
Yeah,
I like Extreme Ownership because that taught me early on to stop basically being a little girl. Yeah, you know what I mean, and no diss to any little girls, but you know it's not for the sales industry to get in and say it's someone else's fault all day long and blame it on others.
Don't be a victim.
Yeah, 100%. So that was a book that kind of did change my career because I started taking accountability for just everything.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot, but definitely doing that and then going to the gym. Like I said, my arm's just getting better, so I'm getting back in the gym.
Yeah.
Getting back in shape, things like that. So
that's awesome.
Definitely doing everything along those lines.
How awesome was Dave Anderson at convention?
Dude, awesome.
He's a savage. Yeah.
You liked him?
I love Dave. Yeah,
what was the best thing you got out of him?
Dude, I wouldn't, nothing that he said, particularly because I've heard him 100 times now, just his unwavering demeanor, his no nonsense, no bullshit, and almost like that extreme accountability mindset. It's on you, dude. Yeah. It's on you. And have some thick skin. Have some respect for yourself and don't be a victim.
That's what I liked is it's more of like not necessarily what he's particularly saying, but you could tell it's just the way of life that he lives.
Right.
The reason he has the things is because he's not making those excuses and he does understand you're not going to go into a room and nothing bad could ever happen to you and be the best person all the time.
Correct.
Like he understands you got to grow.
Yeah.
Got to.
And what's great about Dave is, we've been working with him now since almost the first event. So I've had the pleasure of meeting him, hanging out with him a little bit, and that is exactly who he is. Yeah. Off stage, off camera, that's Dave.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best person, whatever, authors, motivate, are the people who live what they're telling you to do.
That's why I like John Maxwell a lot, because, he's in his 80s in most of these videos, and he's, speaking life as if he was a 20-year-old. Mm-hmm. And you could tell it wasn't always it's not about the money to him. He has a ton of money, but he genuinely likes, giving this leadership knowledge out. Yeah. And that's what I like about him.
Absolutely. He's passionate. I never met him in person, but at the old company, one of the conventions, he was the keynote. Really? It was phenomenal. Yeah. Well, John, this has been great. I'm going to wrap up with a little fun segment called True or False. So I'm just going to throw some shit at you, dude. You're going to let me know, in your opinion, if it's true or false. And these are kind of, I didn't put these together, so if you don't like them, you can be mad at Precious. But they kind of catered to your story a little bit here. So are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, number one, the people you hang out with will not impact your success.
False.
You have to be at least 30 years old to be successful in insurance.
False.
It's possible to recruit people in your life every day.
It's possible or impossible?
It's possible.
True.
You have to be college educated to be successful in business.
False. You
can grow an agency without an office.
True.
The first thing you buy with your commission should be a new sports car.
False.
So that one was in there for you. But it's been a lot of fun. Your story is very inspiring, and I mean, for whatever you believe or don't, you're obviously here for a reason, because holy shit, 140 hitting a boulder and being laid out. And dude, just something about that video, your friend poking you dude, is he really dead? Did your friend think you were dead?
All of them thought I was
dead. They all
did.
did.
That's why they were originally going to put me in their car to go, and they're like, he's dead.
Wow.
They were just going to wait.
Dude, that's crazy, dude. Wow. I look forward to you kicking ass all year long, Agency Hall of Fame, and appreciate you coming up here doing this.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, if you haven't already, go to fflconvention.com, get registered for the next event. Dude, we gave out almost $500,000 in lead vouchers this past year. And it wasn't just restaurant, it was any type of lead. Yeah. And we're going to do probably double that next year. So those premier seats, VIP seats, we're starting in it. I can't let any of the speakers out the bag yet. I can tell you are bringing somebody back from a couple years ago. And we got a whole new lineup that we're going to announce pretty soon. So go to fflconvention.com, get registered. There's an Ignite conference in Phoenix. I don't know if you know about this yet. There's Ignite one in Phoenix in June. And then we are planning on doing one in November, October back in West Palm. So hopefully we'll see you there soon. Guys, you know where to find us every week here on True Talk. Subscribe, share this if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week.